You're worrying about stuff that ain't even in your hands. You're worrying about what they think, how it's going to go, if it's going to work. None of that belongs to you. That ain't your job. You're wasting mental real estate stressing over things you don't have the power to shift. You up late, pacing, heart racing, thinking that maybe if you worry hard enough, it's going to give you control. But I'm telling you right now, worry never solved nothing. Worry never put food on the table. Worry never built no empire. Worry just drains you. It pulls you away from the present. It distracts you from your potential. It clouds your decision making. And it locks your energy in a loop that don't move you forward. You want to break that cycle? You want to stop that stress? Then you got to learn this lesson right now. Control the controllables and let the rest go. That's it. That's the formula. That's how you move different. That's how you start winning. You stop giving your time, your thoughts, and your energy to things that are outside your control. Because here's the truth. There are only two zones you can live in. The zone of control or the zone of chaos. You live in the zone of control, you get clarity. You live in the zone of chaos, you get confusion. And most people, they're stuck in chaos not because they can't focus, but because they're obsessed with outcomes instead of effort. You can't control who supports you. You can't control what doors open when. You can't control how long it takes. But you can control how hard you work. You can control how consistent you stay. You can control your attitude when things don't go your way. That's where your power is. That's where your freedom is. But you've been taught the opposite. You've been taught that you got to hold everything. You got to manage everybody's expectation. You got to have a plan B, plan C, and backup to the backup just in case. And because of that, you end up doing 1,000 things halfway instead of doing the one thing with all your heart. You can't win like that. You can't grow like that. You got to protect your energy like it's gold. You got to be ruthless about where your attention goes. I don't care if it's your friends, your job, your family. If it's draining you and you can't change it, you need to stop obsessing over it. Focus is a choice. Peace is a choice. And freedom, that starts when you finally admit to yourself, this ain't mine to carry. That weight on your back, that pressure on your chest, it ain't because you're weak. It's because you're carrying battles that don't belong to you. It's because you've convinced yourself that you have to be in control of everything in order to be safe, to be respected, to be worthy. But the real power isn't in holding tight. The real power is knowing when to let go. You want to change your life? Stop praying for a lighter load and start developing a stronger focus. Stop asking for everything around you to get easier and start asking for the courage to get sharper. Because life don't slow down for your emotions. Life don't pause for your panic. Life don't care if you're overwhelmed. It just keeps moving. And if you're stuck worrying about what might happen, you're going to miss what is happening. You're going to miss the opportunity right in front of you. You're going to miss the lesson that's being taught in the grind. You're going to miss the strength that only shows up when you stop trying to control every outcome and just start showing up fully where you are. Let me tell you something that changed my life. You don't need all the answers to take the next step. You don't need everything figured out to stay locked in. All you need to do is focus on what you can do right here, right now. If all you can do today is keep your head up and take one step forward, then do that. If all you can do is keep breathing and stay in the fight, then do that. Stop overcomplicating it. Stop waiting for the stars to align. Stop giving worry the driver's seat and handing your focus to fear. Every moment you spend worrying, you are feeding your doubt. But every moment you focus, you are building your discipline. And let me tell you, discipline beats doubt every single time. So decide. Decide that you're going to show up no matter what. Decide that your energy is too valuable to waste on stuff you can't change. Decide that your peace is non-negotiable, because once you make that decision, your world starts to shift. Your actions align. Your vision sharpens. Your confidence grows. Why? Because now your mind ain't scattered. Now your heart ain't heavy with things outside your control. Now you're moving with intention. And when you move with intention, life responds. You think you need more time, more money, more support. But what you really need is less worry and more focus. You need to simplify. You need to get real about what's in your hands and what's not. And once you get that clarity, everything starts to feel lighter. Not because your problems disappear, but because you're no longer wasting your strength on things you were never meant to carry in the first place. Stop trying to control the storm. Start learning how to stand in it. Worry got a way of locking you down. You ever noticed that? You ever been so consumed with what might happen, so wrapped up in the worst case scenario that you couldn't even move? You're standing still, frozen. Not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, but because your mind is doing laps in the same negative loop over and over again. That's what worry does. It paralyzes it. It keeps you on pause. It convinces you that if you just think about it enough, somehow the answer will appear. Somehow the fear will go away, but it never does. Worry is not a plan. It's a prison. But focus mobilizes. Focus gets you moving. Focus don't wait for the perfect conditions. Focus don't care if you're scared. Focus says we go anyway. You got two choices every single day. You can either stay locked in your fear or get locked in your purpose. You can either keep worrying about what might go wrong or start walking toward what could go right. But you can't do both. You can't move forward while dragging the weight of worry behind you. Something's got to go. And if you're serious about the life you say you want, if you're serious about building something, becoming something, breaking something generational, then you already know what has to be cut loose. The worry, the overthinking, the fear of failing, the fear of looking stupid, the fear of not being enough. Let me tell you what I learned the hard way. Most people don't fail because they don't have the talent. Most people don't fail because they don't have the vision. Most people fail because they never got started. They never pulled the trigger. They never took the leap. They let worry whisper in their ear, "You're not ready. What if it doesn't work? What if they laugh? What if you fall?" And instead of focusing on what needed to be done, they stayed stuck. Not because the mountain was too high, but because their mind was too loud. But there comes a time when you've got to decide enough is enough. There comes a moment when you say, I'm done giving power to thoughts that don't serve me. I'm done waiting for the fear to leave before I act. You've got to act in spite of fear. You've got to move through it. The power is in your movement, not your perfection. The transformation is in the execution, not in the planning. Don't get me wrong, planning matters, but too many people confuse planning with preparing and preparing with procrastinating. You've been getting ready for 5 years. You've been talking about the idea, journaling, reading, praying, waiting for the perfect time. That ain't preparation anymore. That's fear in disguise. And fear will keep you talking while focus gets you doing. Focus says, let's break this thing down. What's the next right move? Focus doesn't care about 10 steps from now. It's not obsessed with what might happen next month or next year. It's locked in on what you can do today, right now. in this hour, in this moment. Because when you focus on the step in front of you, you eventually reach the destination ahead of you. But worry keeps your eyes on the distance. Worry makes the journey look too far, too hard, too uncertain. And when your eyes are fixed on how far you have to go instead of the next step you can take, you quit before you even begin. You ever see somebody who just moves different? They're not the loudest. They're not the most talented, but there's something about the way they show up. They execute, they adjust. They don't talk a lot, they do a lot. That's focus. That's somebody who learned how to silence the noise. That's someone who learned how to stop negotiating with fear. They don't ask worry for permission. They don't wait for fear to say, go ahead. They just go because they know that clarity comes in motion. Confidence comes from doing. Peace doesn't show up before the work. It shows up through the work. But life is always going to have uncertainty. It's always going to have risk. It's always going to bring moments where fear tries to knock you off course. But the people who make it, the people who build legacies, they don't let worry steer the ship. They stay focused, they stay grounded, they keep moving, not because they don't feel fear, but because they've learned to move anyway. So the question ain't whether or not the worry's gonna show up. It's gonna show up. The real question is, what are you gonna do when it does? Are you gonna let it paralyze you? Or are you gonna let your focus mobilize you? You become what you focus on. That's not a quote, that's a reality. Every single day, your mind is either building you or breaking you. And it all depends on what you're feeding it. See, people talk about results. They talk about growth. They talk about winning. But the truth is, none of that happens without focus. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your life grows. You can't expect to elevate if your attention is stuck on everything pulling you down. You can't expect to walk in purpose while your thoughts are living in doubt. If your focus is scattered, your life will be too. You spend all day focused on fear, on failure, on people who left, on things that didn't go your way. What do you think is going to grow in your life? Confusion, insecurity, bitterness. That's what multiplies when you focus on pain instead of progress. But when you shift your focus to what you can do, who you want to become, what you need to build, now the direction of your life changes. Now you're planting seeds of discipline, strength, and clarity. And it doesn't matter how broken your past was, because your focus becomes the soil for your future. That's how powerful it is. You want to know how people transform? It ain't magic. It's not some secret formula. It's focus. They stop pouring their attention into things that don't serve them. They stop entertaining distractions. Stop living for validation. Stop chasing everything and started locking in on one thing. You can't grow if you're watering everything. You've got to decide what matters. You've got to decide what deserves your energy. And most importantly, you've got to decide who you're becoming and focus on that with everything you've got. You ever wonder why people plateau? Why they start strong, full of ambition, full of excitement, and then fall flat? It's not that they don't have the potential. It's that they lost their focus. Somewhere along the line, they got distracted. They let the wrong voices in. They got pulled into gossip, into comfort, into doubt. They started comparing, started questioning, started listening to fear more than faith. That's what breaks momentum. That's what kills consistency. And without consistency, there is no growth. But when you focus, really focus, you start to build discipline. And discipline is what carries you when motivation runs out. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. Growth don't happen by accident. It happens on purpose. It happens when you wake up and say, I'm not available for distractions today. I'm not available for drama. I'm not available for anything that doesn't push me closer to who I'm supposed to be. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. That's clarity. And when you live with that kind of focus, you start becoming a magnet for growth. New habits form, new ideas show up, new doors open. Not because you're lucky, but because you're finally in position to see them. You weren't distracted by the noise. You weren't drained by worry. You were focused. And that focus unlocked the next level of you. You gotta protect your mind. You gotta protect your time. You gotta guard your focus like it's sacred, because it is. The minute you let everyone and everything have access to your attention, you lose your power. You lose your direction. You lose yourself. And this world is full of things designed to pull you away from your purpose. Social media, toxic relationships, negativity, criticism, envy. If you don't take control of your focus, those things will. They will consume your day, rob your energy, and leave you feeling stuck in a life that doesn't even reflect your potential. And the scariest part is, you'll think that's normal. You'll think that's just how life goes. But it's not. That's how unfocused life goes. When you start locking in, though, when you start saying, I've got a vision and I refuse to be distracted, that's when your identity shifts. That's when the hunger kicks in. That's when you stop waiting and start working. Because real focus is active. It's intentional. It's bold. It's waking up and doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's showing up when nobody's watching. It's choosing progress over perfection, commitment over comfort, purpose over popularity. That's focus. And that's what creates real transformation. It ain't always exciting. It ain't always pretty. Sometimes it's repetitive. Sometimes it's lonely, but it's always necessary. You're not building for applause. You're not focusing to impress people. You're focusing because you know deep down there's more in you. There's a version of you the world hasn't even seen yet. But that version don't come alive through wishful thinking. It comes through intentional focus. You've got to lock in. You've got to decide that your dream deserves more attention than your distractions. Your goals deserve more commitment than your comfort. Your vision deserves more energy than your fear. And when you make that decision, day after day, moment by moment, your life starts to grow in ways you never imagined. Not because everything gets easier, but because you get sharper, you get more focused, you get more resilient. That's the difference. That's the shift. And that shift, it changes everything. So if you're tired of starting over, if you're tired of feeling stuck, if you're tired of wondering why things aren't moving, check your focus. Ask yourself, what have I been giving my mind to? What have I been feeding my spirit? What have I been allowing to take my energy? Because once you take back your focus, you take back your future.